Yo, there was a time not that long ago that games came out in Japan and then we never actually saw them in English, but times do seem to be changing because we're slowly but surely seem to be getting like all these kind of lost Japanese RPGs, and that's really freaking cool. The latest one that's going to be released here in America is called Exstetra, that was originally released for the PlayStation Vita as well as the 3DS, but it never came out here in America, but now it is. It's coming to the PC this summer, and I do want to tell you all about it today, and I definitely do think it's worth a sub as you come and you join a party and you level on up with me. Thank you so much for your sub, your like, and your brand new hype. It helps me out a ton. So it says that this is going to have Japanese voice acting, but additional subtitles will not only be in, of course, Japanese, but also Chinese and English, so we can all play it. The Steam page does, though, show that there will be some changes from the original releases. I don't know what that means, if that means balancing changes or if that means censorship. I really have no idea. Of course, they are going to be remastering and HD upscaling and things like that, but we don't really know. So there is scant few information on what this game actually is, but I went and I researched it and I looked some things up, and I'm here to tell you all about the game and as much as I can about it. It is a turn-based role-playing game, but in the same vein as the Tales series, so that to me kind of compares it to Rise Fantasia, because that felt like, you know, a Tales game, but it just had a turn-based battle system. It was like Tales and everything else except for turn-based battles, which is fine by me. I love a turn-based battle system. And just kind of similar to Rise Fantasia, it says that it is much more on the harder side as well. But the big gimmick here is that characters like transfer their energy and their life force between one another by kissing each other. And so maybe that might be a reason why it never came out in America, but then again, we did get Conception back in the day, which, if you know what Conception is, it was much more than just kissing each other. It was like you have a full-on, you know, everything, going all the way. So yeah, and it says the game's setting is a combination of this like otherworldly fantasy land, but that's also been fused with a modern-day Tokyo. So I did find an import review over on RPG Gaymer that goes much more in depth as far as their take on the game and what the game is all about. And this review, it's kind of funny, but it's very, very honest, I've got to say. It says it starts with the hero Ryuma streaming in from a meteoric rainbow and crashing headfirst in the heart of a forest with, of course, amnesia, because, you know, all good RPG heroes have amnesia. And we have, you know, this girl who shows up, and she says that this is the world of Amazia, which is a reverse image of the Earth, and both worlds are soon to be destroyed by demonic forces, of course. And our hero, our amnesiac hero, is a Prisma, who's a savior of the world, and he can absorb mystic energies from fallen foes and use them to empower his allies. However, he first has to locate these allies as they're kind of teleported in from Tokyo, and then activate them, of course, with a kiss. And then it goes on to say, some obviously take this small detail better than others. So then it says, in battle, you have to like kiss each other to pass the energy to his friends so they could use like the really big attacks. So I, of course, at first thought, okay, it's going to be, you know, one guy and then a whole bunch of girls, a harem of girls. But no, it says, though the two male party members stubbornly boycott this option until a boss battle with a gender-biased attack spell forces them to make kissy faces. Power activation comes with a kissing minigame that is appropriately awkward and difficult to get right. The configuration menu does give the player the choice to opt out, so you can turn off the kissing minigame if you want to. If you have to like do this kissing minigame every single freaking battle, you're damn sure I'm turning the freaking thing off. It says you, though, have different toggles for the boys and the girls, and then the game actually keeps track of how many times you kiss each character, and depending on like who you kiss the most, you'll get their special ending. Then it goes on to say, in addition to this, there are a handful of minor like B plots, which again barely pad the time between the game's major dungeons. And then it says that the player's party might as well outnumber the shown inhabitants of the game's single town. So this is one of those dungeon crawling games with a hub town. Unfortunately, you don't get to explore the entire world. You just get to explore these little dungeons branching off from the hub town, which I'm not really a fan of. It goes on to talk about the turn-based battle system. It's not entirely turn-based because there is positioning and there is rows. There's 3 different rows that you can kind of move your characters back and forward between. But it looks like the reviewer didn't really like this, because then he goes on, he's like, thank God there's auto battle. And then he goes on how great the auto battle is. He says that basically, like, the auto battle knows exactly what to do and always makes the right decisions, unlike me. So I just turned on auto battle all the time, and it also bypasses the kissing minigame. And it goes on to say that you can press down the right shoulder button to fast forward through the mechanic. Then he goes on to bitch about the auto battle system. He's like, I want to only use auto battle. I don't want to even play the game, but let me complain about the auto battle system. Yeah, so apparently there's something called the burst mechanic. So basically he's saying that it's possible for characters to overdraw on their magic or their skill, which enters a burst state, and they end up taking damage to their HP to make up for the balance that they could have drawn from their MP. So basically they're pulling an old man Tella here, and they're casting Meteor whenever they don't have enough MP for it. But rather than taking, 9 HP, which should have been the case for Tella, it took his entire life. So then he goes on to say, he goes on to really bitch about the but the auto battle. Goes, unfortunately, the AI is stupid enough to pursue the highest damage attack options, often pulling out the hero's biggest move at 88% maximum MP per use when he's sitting at 0 magic and not much more health. So yeah, he's kind of pissed off about that. But I would be pissed off about this too, because it says that if your party members die, they're just moved to the back row, but if the main character dies, it's a game over. And I don't really like that. That's a very Shin Megami Tensei sort of thing right there. That's kind of like a dungeon crawler sort of thing, where the main character dies and it's a game over, but that seems to be the case here. But you can, however, repeat the same battles over and over and over again. So if that does happen, I guess you could turn off your auto battle and just do it yourself. Although this guy didn't really seem to want to do it, because he then goes on to say that he tried 8 times against tougher encounters. I guess he just kept the auto battle on the entire time, but whatever. Then he goes on to talk about equipment customization, and he says that you can max out your weapons pretty easily, but there's literally no way to max out your defensive powers. But then he says that the enchantments to the weapons are like really cool. Again, reminding me of Arkwright's Fantasia, where you can kind of unlock those pieces of the weapon, like the puzzle pieces or whatever. So this is really cool. Goes on to say that you can add in like additional effects like poison, critical hits, draining damage, making sure you get critical hits and striking first. So it's almost like imbuing your weapons with materia as well, like an added effect materia sort of thing. So that's pretty neat, if I do say so myself. Then he goes on to say that the developers were not trying to make a balanced RPG. It says that they began with something more like a first-person dungeon crawler, but later changed it to a third-person isometric view. So he then says that it's a really freaking hard game, that it's pretty much as hard as a traditional dungeon crawler, and that even though it does have casual and standard difficulty options, they're more akin to a normal and a hard. So he's bitching the entire way through this review. As you can see, he really did not like the game. At the end of the review, he calls it a flop. So do with that information what you will. He says that it does have decent voice acting for most scenes and some not bad animated cutscenes, but then he says the full concept of this game would have worked much better as an erotic RPG and would have been better for it. But at the end of the day, a game so focused on kissing shouldn't be so dull, and he gives it a 2 out of 5, saying it is bad and hard for the sake of being hard. He also says that There's pretty much like a forest dungeon, there's a cave dungeon, there's like, you know, a city dungeon, but each of those dungeons are essentially just like 6 or 7 floors of the exact same thing over and over and over again. So he didn't really like it, as you can see. But I will wait and I will judge it myself based upon what I think about it. I think that it looks kind of neat and kind of cool. I just think it kind of seems kind of funny, you know what I mean? But again, I will keep an open mind on this game because I just think it's nice that we're finally getting a lot of these games that we never really did get. It would just be nice if we finally got, you know, other games that we never really got, like the Tales series. That would be freaking fantastic. But, you know, I never complain about that. But now, waiting from y'all, what do you think about this game? Are you interested in it? Because I'm totally interested in it. Let me know in the comments, and as always, have a good day.